Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Pat's Pulpit pregame preview. We are here to talk about football. Finally, 2018 is here. Week 1 is about to begin. And as always, I am here with my good friend, Alec Shane. Before we jump into this league, Alec, how you doing?
I'm doing my best I could possibly be, buddy. It is football Sunday. It is week 1, and based on the riveting action we saw between the Eagles and Falcons on Thursday night, it's going to be an absolutely amazing season. They already set the bar so high with that amazing game, but it's all right because the Patriots playing the Texans soon. It's going to be awesome. And I have to say, Rich, I call it as I see it, and you got a lot better looking in the offseason. So congratulations. Good to see you again.
Oh, good to see you too. Good to see you as well. Yeah, everyone knows that the best football takes place in week 1 of the regular season. There's no question about that. There's a lot of football to be played before this week is done. Patriots are kicking off at 1 p.m., which is kind of different, I think. I'm always used to the Patriots playing in prime time. They're hosting the Houston Texans for the first game. We'll definitely be breaking that down. But before we get into that, let's talk about what's taking place around the league. As you mentioned, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Atlanta Falcons kicked off the regular season on Thursday, and it was 6-3 at the half. It was just football. Somehow Nick Foles managed to pull it out again at the end of the game with a come-from-behind victory, and then Matt Ryan was just unable to connect with Julio Jones for some reason, because I don't know how you can miss Julio Jones. I just don't get it. But there are other games, and Alec, I'm curious to know your thoughts. What will you be watching for in week 1?
Yeah, obviously, like you said, week 1 is kind of a wash. Teams still getting their feet under them, trying to figure out their offensive defensive schemes. But I think you can actually tell a lot by what's going to take place over the course of the season. In the AFC East, at least, with a couple of the matches we have, the fellow divisional opponents are going up against. We got the Bills going to the Ravens. I'm very excited for that game. Nathan Peterman's the starter. The Ravens are kind of in flux right now. Joe Flacco is the starter, but they brought the rookie very high. Maybe that'll be something to watch as the season goes on. The Titans are being hosted by the Dolphins. Titans are one of those teams. A lot of folks expect them to make a very deep playoff run in January, so maybe they can get out of the gate swinging there. And then the Jets play the Lions tomorrow night of the first of the doubleheader Monday night game. So early on in the year, I'm looking at the AFC East, see how these guys look early on and who their opponents are and how they can handle them.
Yeah, and this should be a pretty evenly matched opponent across the board because, Dolphins and Titans, I just want to start off there. Titans have done their darndest this offseason to acquire all the former Patriots that they could. They have Dion Lewis and Malcolm Butler. They bought in Mike Vrabel to be the head coach. They already have Logan Ryan over there. So we should be pretty familiar with what they're capable of doing. They were a playoff team last year. They played the New England Patriots. And the year before that, the Dolphins were the wild card. So they are the teams that are on the cusp of being potentially in the postseason. Whoever wins and by how much, what sort of plays out as, it'll be a really good temperature test for both of those teams. As for the Bills and the Ravens, which I kind of want to talk about here, is the Bills are... I don't even know. They're probably one of the biggest boom bust teams that you have out there. I really do like their offensive skill players. They have LaShawn McCoy, who I like. Charles Clay is a good tight end against every team other than the New England Patriots. And they have Kelvin Benjamin on the outside. I like the talent that they have. And then they have a very strong defense. I really like the acquisitions they've made over the past couple of years there. I like Micah Hyde at safety. Tre'Davious White was a revelation at cornerback last year. So the Bills have some of the pieces, and they were a playoff team last year. Are they also still the Bills? And they are known for their heartbreak. And we'll get a really good understanding of where they stand in 2018 after this week.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a big week for Nathan Peterman. The last time he started a game or he came into a game, it didn't end too well, to the tune of 5 interceptions, if I remember correctly.
Beautiful.
It was something else. It was a coaching decision too. And Tyrod Taylor is now with the Browns, and this is a quarterback-driven league. And right now it's Tom Brady, Nathan Peterman, a Ryan Tannehill coming off of an ACL injury. Who knows how he's going to do? And then we have Sam Darnold, the rookie. So it's a very big gap in the AFC quarterback-wise. But if the Bills can come out, keep it close. The Ravens are one of those teams you never know who they're going to be, even week in, week out, season in, season out. I think John Harbaugh might be on the hot seat this season if they don't make a good dent. So he might be playing for his job, something to factor in. But you can't take too much into the first week of the season. But I think if you see how these teams match up against potential playoff teams, these games, at least the Bills, Ravens, and possibly the Dolphins, Titans, could have playoff implications down the stretch in terms of tiebreakers. Kind of weird.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially thinking that the Patriots aren't the only team in the AFC East that could be in the postseason would really puncture that narrative bubble that the Patriots have a cakewalk every single season. Just because they always beat their opponents doesn't mean that the division is always terrible. They are pretty okay. It's just that they lose to the Patriots. So what can they do about it? And you mentioned the Jets with Sam Darnold as their quarterback. I will be interested to see how the rookie performs. They've made some big changes on the Jets roster as well. They are the first game of the doubleheader on Monday night, and they are being hosted by the Detroit Lions as Matt Patricia will be making his head coaching debut. What are you expecting from that game?
It's funny. I think that the Jets are going to be thrown into the fire right away. A rookie in prime time on Monday night. I think this is a great chance. I actually like Darnold. I think he's got a good skill set. I don't think he really has the pieces around him just yet to be successful. But if he can come out, put a good showing up, if the Jets defense can hold Matt Stafford and company to a decent amount, they can get upset. I'm very curious to see how Matt Patricia handles this Lions defense. If he brings a Patriot strategy, the bend don't break, the read and react, if he brings that off defensive scheme to the Lions, or if he decides to be a little more aggressive the way they've done it in the past. But I think it should be an interesting matchup, and I'm excited to see Matt Patricia take the reins for the first time.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that as well. And I'm also excited, here's a nice little segue here, I'm excited to see his Patriots replacement, Brian Flores, and see what he can do with the Patriots defense in his first game against the Houston Texans in a pretty exciting offense. Last year, Matt Patricia could not do much to stop Deshaun Watson in the Houston Texans offense. Not really to any fault of his own. It just seemed like Deshaun Watson was a magician out there pulling just the most ridiculous 30-yard passes across the field that no one should ever make. It's just like when you play against Eli Manning, and the reason that the Patriots defense is so good is that they're able to plan for how opposing teams are going to strategize. And when players don't have a strategy, what are you supposed to do? You can't handle it. You can't prepare for that. And that's kind of the thing with Deshaun Watson, is that he just pulled so many tricks out of his hat, and he was very successful. And so the question is, he tore his ACL last year. What type of quarterback will he be this year? It will be a little cat and mouse game with Brian Flores out there as well, leading the defense. And so we have a lot to break down here. Patriots versus Texans. Alec, where do you want to start?
Yeah, I think I'd like to ask you to start off, Rich, is what you think the base defense will be either this week and beyond, or this week in general, or against mobile quarterbacks. Deshaun Watson is a very mobile quarterback. We'll see how mobile coming off that knee injury. First game back for any QB is always a little rusty. But as we saw last year, he ran circles around the Patriots defense. They were very reactionary. They were left people wide open at times. Brian Flores, if preseason's any indicator, which, spoiler alert, it isn't, but the defense has been very, very aggressive. They were kind of charging the quarterback a lot more. It wasn't as much a sit back, bend, don't break. They were really allowing guys to lay off the leash a little bit. I'll be very curious to see if they adopt that strategy, or they run the risk of having him break out and lose contain and pick up yards with his legs. So, Rich, what do you think their base defense will be today? If not today going forward, just today against a mobile quarterback like Deshaun Watson?
That's a great question. And what the Patriots typically do against these mobile quarterbacks in the past, throwing out there the Cam Newtons, the Aaron Rodgers, the Alex Smiths, and even Deshaun Watson, what they typically like to do is not rush too much. They like to have a little bit of a mush rush with the front three, maybe front four, playing contain with one of the defensive end players responsible for making sure that the quarterback doesn't leave the pocket. And that means that the opposing team will have plenty of time to have their passing plays develop, and it will be very important for the Patriots coverage unit to be playing their best football. And what the Patriots did this offseason with addressing and improving their defense should serve them well against quarterbacks like Deshaun Watson, because they added Adrian Claiborne, who is not really known for generating a lot of sacks, but he does a really good job of squeezing the pocket in a Rob Ninkovich-esque way, where maybe he's going to get a sack here or there, but he will be known for getting just the crucial hurries, and he won't ever give up his gap responsibilities, which is something that the Patriots struggled with over the past couple of years. We saw that primarily last year. We saw that with Cassius Marsh in the season opener against the Kansas City Chiefs, is that he would just never be able to maintain his gap presence. Adrian Claiborne should be much better at that. He will be opposite of Trey Flowers, and adding Danny Shelton in the middle of the mix alongside Malcolm Brown and Lawrence Guy should really bolster that Patriots defensive front. And so if I'm the New England Patriots, I have some combination of those four players setting that defensive front, making sure Deshaun Watson doesn't escape out of the pocket, and then dropping everyone back into coverage. Because one thing that Deshaun Watson is very good at is hitting players when he isn't pressured or when he has a clean pocket. So that front four will have to squeeze. And then everyone on the back end is going to have to make sure that their guy doesn't get any separation, which will be pretty tough because DeAndre Hopkins is one of the best receivers in the NFL at gaining separation at that very last second in order to make a grab.
Yeah, absolutely. I expect Stephon Gilmore on DeAndre Hopkins today. The funny thing about the Texans offense is after DeAndre Hopkins, one of the best receivers in the game, hands down, there's a pretty big drop-off in receiving talent. They have Sammy Coates Jr., Vincent Smith, Bruce Ellington. There's not a whole lot of elite talent in the other part of the receiving core beyond DeAndre Hopkins. So how do you see them matching up secondary-wise? Stephon Gilmore on DeAndre Hopkins, maybe with safety help over the top. And then one-on-one, you want to pass off on the zone. How do you see secondary breaking down these Texas receivers and tight ends?
Yeah, that's a tough question because, as you said, Sammy Coates is going to be active. He will be probably one of the starters. Bruce Ellington might be coming out of the slot because Will Fuller is not playing. And the question that Brian Flores and Bill Belichick will have on defense is, do you put Stephon Gilmore against Sammy Coates on an island and have Eric Rowe in a safety covering DeAndre Hopkins? In my mind, that's the right play because that'll allow you to dedicate your resources elsewhere, because I don't know if I trust Eric Rowe on Sammy Coates on an island, and I don't know if I trust anyone on an island against DeAndre Hopkins. And by having Stephon Gilmore, your top corner, covering Sammy Coates, that is an advantage for the Patriots in my mind. And then you can feel comfortable shadowing Duron Harmon over the top of DeAndre Hopkins. That's something that we've seen the Patriots do in the past. They used Devin McCourty in that role in prior years as well, is that they have their number 2 cornerback. It had been Logan Ryan and a safety covering Hopkins, give the number 1 cornerback to the opposite side of the field, and you just kind of play it out that way. I am concerned with how the Patriots are going to cover Bruce Ellington because we've seen Ellington pop up against the Patriots before. He doesn't really do too much over the course of the entire season, but he seems to be good for at least one big 30-plus yard grab against the Patriots. It was in the preseason, I guess, last year. It's in the regular season as well. I don't know if the Patriots have anyone that I would trust covering Ellington. The responsibility will likely go to Patrick Chung, who spends over half of his time in the slot against whoever is out there. But we also have to account for the fact that the Texans do like to run their 2 tight end sets. They will have Ryan Griffin out there as their tight end. It will depend on who the other players are out as well. They just don't have that same sort of depth at the position. So I would expect Ellington to get more time, and that will put a lot of pressure on recently named captain Patrick Chung.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think Patrick Chung has been such a godsend for this team. It's amazing how in his second stint with the Patriots, he's really revolved and adapted in his role as that linebacker safety hybrid. Great coverage player, really good on the run defense. Speaking of run defense, do you see the Texans running the ball a lot today with Lamar Miller, Alfred Brew, whoever they decided to put back there, Deshaun Watson on kind of draw plays? You mentioned a lot of big guys up front. Danny Shelton's a big dude. Adrian Claiborne's a big dude. We haven't talked about Malcolm Brown. There's a lot of heavy guys up front. And with a mobile quarterback like Deshaun Watson, it might make more sense to do a lot of the in routes, the short passes, the checkdowns, cause the defense to check back a little bit and then go to the run later on. Are you worried at all about the Texans' running game against the Patriots' defensive front?
There will be some questions early on because the Patriots' run defense was pretty bad last year. New England has historically had a pretty solid defensive run front. Last year was not the case. I'm curious to see if Danny Shelton's able to fit in pretty seamlessly with this defensive front. I will say that the Houston Texans don't run the most imaginative run offense. I feel like if you talk to any Houston Texans fan, they will just be complaining about how every single first down is just a Lamar Miller dive up the middle. 3 yards, 4 yards, 5 yards, whatever it is. That's all they're expecting. Just run up the middle. If the Patriots can't stop them, then that's a huge red flag for this defense moving forward. This is probably one of the easier tests for that Patriots defensive front, unless there's a wrinkle in there where the Texans start doing zone spread runs, and that's what always gives the Patriots trouble up front. So that's something to watch out for. That is something Bill O'Brien might be pulling out of his bag of tricks. But I do expect the Patriots solid job stopping the run against Lamar Miller because A, I don't think that the Texans offensive line is that great. B, I do think that the Patriots defensive line has a lot of talent. And C, the Texans probably aren't going to run the most creative run offense.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that. The problem is that with that zone stretch run with the running back going to the outside, it's been such a huge problem in years past, which is actually why my defensive X factor is going to be Juwan Bentley. I think he's the guy that I've seen in the preseason, at least. He's really got good lateral movement. He's great on the blitz and the gap assignments. He's really strong with that. I think he's also a good guy to try and maybe spy on Deshaun Watson, keep contain on him, make sure he doesn't get too many yards in his legs. If the play should break down, should the pocket break down, or should they lose the contain? I see Juwan Bentley maybe being a big part of the run game stopping today.
That's a good one. I like that. And he really has flashed. He should get an opportunity to play alongside Dante Hightower and Kyle Van Noy, as well as Landon Roberts. We'll see what their type of rotation turns out being. Maybe Bentley is just a backup guy early on until he gets an opportunity to shine. My X factor kind of runs similar. It's going to be Trey Flowers because of that sort of pivot responsibility that you were attributing to Bentley, where Trey Flowers is going to have to set the edge, make sure that Deshaun Watson does not escape out of the pocket. He's also going to have to pressure the pocket, make sure that Watson doesn't have forever just to sit around waiting for someone to break open. He's going to have to really be stout against the run, and he's just entering a contract year. He really has an opportunity to elevate his game. He's gotten better every single year since, this is his third year, really. It's just been 2 years because he got a redshirt freshman year, but he's gotten better each of the past 2 years. He should be even better this year. I'm really excited to see what he does against this Texans offensive line, and I really think that Trey Flowers is going to do much better this year when he's playing opposite of Adrian Claiborne and a sophomore Dietrich Wise, as opposed to rookie Dietrich Wise and rookie Adam Butler.
Yeah, that defensive front really is something to look at, which I'm excited about. Speaking of defensive fronts, the Texans defensive front was decimated with injuries last year. They are all back and healthy. This is on paper at least, an absolutely fierce group of guys. They gave the Patriots some trouble in their last meeting. How concerned with you against this Texans defense are you, Rich? How do you see the Patriots attacking this defensive line, the secondary, giving Tom Brady enough time to throw? The Patriots have all of 3 receivers that I trust right now, and Chris Hogan, Cordell Patterson, and Philip Dorsett. That's it for receivers. Gronk, obviously, and then James White and Rex Burkhead. But what do you see the Patriots doing offensively to make sure that Tom Brady stays healthy, stays upright, and they get points on the board?
Yeah, this is going to be a really tough matchup because this Houston Texans defense doesn't have too many weaknesses. If I had to pinpoint one place, it would be at safety. And even then, they just added Tyrann Mathieu, so it's not really that much of a weakness anymore. And so they have one of the deepest defensive fronts in the entire league. You got Jadeveon Clowney, J.J. Watt, Whitney Merciless. It's probably one of the top 3 trios you can have on any defensive line outside of Los Angeles. And then at linebacker, Bernardrick McKinney was a second-team All-Pro a couple years ago. Zach Cunningham was an early pick for them last year. So they have some talent on that defensive front. Both Cunningham and McKinney has shown an ability to have that sideline to sideline defensive ability. If I'm the New England Patriots, I'm looking at this Houston Texans secondary. They added Aaron Colvin from the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's a really good slot guy. They added Kevin Johnson's back from his injury. So they have some talent at cornerback. I would try to stress the outsides of the field. Part of it is by using the running backs. I expect Rex Burkhead to have a really big day with Julian Edelman suspended. I expect Rex Burkhead to really pick up a lot of that slack. Same with James White. I would not be surprised if the Patriots ran a couple 2 running back sets in order to really stress the Texans linebackers in order to make them kind of ease off, make it a little bit easier for the Patriots offensive line to match up against this strong Texans front. And then once the Patriots soften them, I would expect a few deep shots here and there to Chris Hogan, Rob Gronkowski up the seam, just because I don't think the Texans coverage unit is as strong this year as it has been in years past.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Rex Burkhead today because I'm very curious with the Patriots running game against the Texans. Not only because that defensive front is very difficult to run against, first of all, and secondly, Sony Michel is out today. He's still not ready to go. They cut Mike Gillislee, which leads me to believe that either Rex Burkhead or Jeremy Hill, I guess, will be your between the tackles runner, your first down, your goal and short, or whatever it is runner. You think Rex Burkhead gets the bulk of the actual running carries today, or will Jeremy Hill see some playing time? What do you think?
I think Jeremy Hill will get some playing time, but we've seen the Patriots use a rotation at the running back position forever, since they had that Stephon Ridley and Shane Vereen duo. Even before that, they had Danny Woodhead in there in some capacity. I expect there to be, Rex Burkhead and James White could probably both see around 40% of the snaps each Jeremy Hill could see the remaining 20%. I expect it to be like maybe a 2-to-1 ratio for Jeremy Hill and Rex Burkhead. Burkhead getting the double the carries. I expect, switch off from drive to drive. We'll see who has the extension. I don't believe that the Patriots will switch them out at any point. Burkhead is a good enough goal line guy that he should be able to stay out there. But I guess also I wouldn't be surprised if the Patriots get inside the 5-yard line and they put Jeremy Hill as their big back by the goal line, have that LeGarrette Blount kind of run only, be the drive finisher. That could happen. But Burkhead has shown enough, and his flexibility as both a runner and a receiver really gives him that prime opportunity to be in that starting lineup. It really depends on the game script, though, whether they'll go with James White, who is also a first-time captain, or Rex Burkhead will receive more of the snaps, because Burkhead is the runner. But if the Patriots say, you know what, we're just not having as much success running against this Texans defensive front, maybe they'll lean a little bit more towards James White. And so this will have to play out. I do expect it to be roughly even, given all of those variables that I just said.
Yeah, you're hoping. I'm curious if they even bother to run the ball at all, if they maybe come out throwing it, see how they match up against the secondary. And if the secondary starts to commit, then they can commit to the run later on, use the run instead of the pass. And a lot of those quick screens that Brady loves so much are basically running games, which leads to my next question for you, Rich. And I don't know if I'm allowed to do this, but I guess it's our show, so you can do whatever you want. Can I have all 3 receivers be the X factor for the Patriots today? Because I'm very curious to see how they use them. Cordell Patterson, is he a legit kind of number 2 receiver in the league? Is Philip Dorsett going to make a massive leap? Chris Hogan is not a number 1 receiver. He is as of right now until Edelman comes back. There's Gronkowski, of course, but he's the tight end. My X factor, I want it to be the Patriots receivers against the Texans secondary, and I'm worried that how they play today will be indicative of how they will play for the next 3-4 weeks till Edelman comes back.
I agree. I was going to copy you on that one. So maybe we can split it. We'll
right.
both split the wide receivers as the X factor this week, because I have no idea what to expect. Yeah. I don't know what they're going to do out there. I like Chris Hogan. I think that he has a really good rapport with Tom Brady. And when he's been given an opportunity, he could be a 1,000-yard, 10-touchdown type of receiver. But he hasn't remained healthy. He hasn't been able to develop that rapport with Tom Brady consistently over a 16-game schedule. And so I'm excited to see what he does this week. And exactly for what you said, however the Patriots receivers show up today would either give me a lot of confidence or a lot of hesitancy of what they're going to be capable of doing over the next couple of weeks. They got the Jaguars coming. That's probably the best defense that they're going to face all year. And if they can't get it done against this Houston Texans defense, then they're absolutely not going to get it done against the Jaguars. And so that is definite cause for concern. And mostly, I'm just curious to see how these receivers are going to really step up. They each have kind of a role. Dorsett's the deep threat. Cordell Patterson's the movable chess piece. And Chris Hogan's the quote-unquote prototypical X guy, where he's able to, catch everything on the outside. Maybe they'll even flex him inside every now and then. But they all have a distinctive role. I want to see how they perform in real game time, because we've heard so much this offseason about how Philip Dorsett's really about to flash, about how they have so much trust in Chris Hogan. And I just haven't seen it. I just haven't seen them put it all together in the preseason. I haven't seen them put it all together in the regular season. And so week 1, this is for all the marbles of week 1. I'm really excited to see what they can do.
Yeah, no, and I guess the good news about Dorsett's also the bad news about Dorsett. As you look back over historically, the Patriots have picked up receivers mid-season. They haven't fared that well. If it was a trade or a signing, and they just haven't really had time to fully acclimate into the offense, they never quite picked it up. Joey Galloway, Doug Gabriel, Chad, I can keep going with this. But Dorsett's now had a full season and off season to get himself together. He's learned the system. He's in there. So if he can't get it together now, he's not going to get it together. And it also doesn't really bode well for them bringing in, Des Bryant or whoever. They're going to have a hard time bringing in a guy in the middle of the season, because they just don't historically. It's a very hard offense to learn. And I think who they have is who they're going with. So hopefully they can get it done today.
Yeah, and they actually just recently promoted Riley McCarron, full slot receiver, from their practice squad. So, Alec, what do you think his role will be for this Patriots offense? It's something that we didn't even talk about when we talk about the Patriots receivers. Tom Brady didn't even talk about that when asked if he trusts his receivers. He's like, oh, yeah, Chris and Philip and Cordero, we'll really trust them. And it's like, what? Riley's on the team too, man. What are you expecting from him?
Yeah, I think Riley McCarron's probably your punt returner. And he's out. He'll get maybe 6 snaps today. I don't think he's really a part of the offense. What's really sad is the Patriots wanted to go 5 wide Could they even do that? It'd be like Matthew Slater, I guess, is their fifth receiver. So I don't think maybe a lot of 2 and 3 wide receiver sets today. Look for a big game from Rob Gronkowski, James White, Rex Burkhead. The usual. The Patriots are going to be fine. They always are. It's week 1. We all know how this story ends. We'll see you late in January. So it's nothing to worry about too much. It's more just a matter of making sure they can get themselves over this 4-week hump till Edelman comes back.
All right, perfect. And so I'm just going to restate what you said right here, and I'm going to overreact to whatever happens in this single game. And this could be the end of the Patriots dynasty. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying? Alec, you said that.
I mean, I guess I'm technically a member of the Boston media, so that's kind of the line we have to toe. But I think the beauty of being Pat's Pulpit is we can be objective while still being fans. They lost to the Chiefs last year, and they did fine. And they're going to be okay. They always are. They have Tommy B. So let's get the predictions, Rich. Let's stop BSing and get right to it. Who you got?
Perfect. So the Patriots are 6-point favorites in this game. They had a lot of trouble defending Deshaun Watson last year. They have JJ Watt back. They have Whitney Merciless back. So whatever the record was last year isn't really indicative of the type of talent and capabilities that they do have. And then you factor in that the Patriots kind of start off slowly on defense every single year. You don't have Julian Edelman. There are a lot of red flags heading into here. I believe every single writer at the Boston Globe said that they're picking the Houston Texans to win against the Patriots team. So with that in mind, I'm picking the New England Patriots pretty comfortably. I expect that the Patriots will come out here. Gronkowski is going to have a touchdown. The running backs are going to gain like 150 yards combined and 2 touchdowns. My final score is probably going to be Patriots 32, Texans 17.
Comfortable victory. I would love to have that happen, get the season off on the right foot. I've come to really enjoy and appreciate the Boston Globe. They're going down in flames, and they're just shooting everybody in the foot on the way down, and I got to respect that move. Good for them. Listen, the 2009 game aside, the Texans never beaten the Patriots. The one time they won, it was a Week 17 meaningless game. Walker blew out his ACL. They are going to beat the Patriots eventually. It is going to happen, and I think today represents their best chance in a very long time to do so. And honestly, if this game was at Houston, I might be tempted to pick Houston in this game. But the Patriots aren't going to lose 2 home openers in a row. I don't see that happening. I think they will struggle offensively, personally. I think that it'll take them a long time to get going, and it'll be a very close game. I think Texans will cover that 6-point spread. I'm going Patriots 24, Texans 20 on a failed Deshaun Watson kind of comeback drive, interception to seal it. Pats 24, Texans 20.
And kind of just assumed in what you said there, Jerron Harmon's going to be the closer here.
Of course, obviously.
Feel that in the gut. All right, well, there we have it. Those are our 2 predictions for the game. Everyone, I hope you enjoyed watching this. We'll have more information at patspulpit.com. We'll have our podcast coming out in a couple days after the game is done. Alec, do you have any final thoughts on week 1 of the regular season?
Let's do this, man. As always, great to break these games down with you. And hopefully our final podcast, 2018, will be a little better spirited than our final one of 2017.
Absolutely. And until next time, Alec, you have a good one.
See you, buddy.
Later.